Shri Sairam, offering my humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of my beloved Mother Sai. I am Balaji from the state of Tamil Nadu South, a proud current student of the Sri Sathya Sai National Leadership Program for Self-Transformation. On this wonderful evening, I welcome you all to the 7th episode of Satsangatve Nisangatvam. Today, to share with us his journey, we have with us an inspiration to all, Sri Vijay Santhanam, an epitome of the 5 Ds. Lovingly called Santhanam by Swami, Sri Vijay Santhanam embarked on his academic journey with the Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School in the year 1992 and earned his MBA from the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning in 1999. Recognized for his exceptional achievements, Sri Vijay Santhanam was awarded the University All-Rounder Gold Medal in 1998 by Bhagwan himself. He was also blessed to accompany Swami to Kodaikanal twice in the years 1994 and 1996. With a distinguished career of 25 years in the industry, including 24 years in banking, Sri Vijay Santhanam has held pivotal roles at Barclays Bank and HDFC Bank. Currently, he serves as the Managing Director and Head of Corporate Banking for Barclays in India. In addition to his professional accomplishments, Sri Vijay Santhanam is dedicated to service, actively contributing as a Management Council member of the Sri Sathya Sai Trust Maharashtra, a trust founded by Bhagwan in 1967 in Mumbai. Over to you, sir. Shri Vijay Santhanam. Sairam.
Sairam Balaji and Sairam to everyone, and my pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. At the outset, good evening to all of you, and thank you, Balaji, for a very generous introduction, and thank you, Gopi, for the opportunity to be with all of you this evening. Maybe the way I've thought about this evening is when I did spend some time with Gopi and asked him what was the expectation when all of us have a discussion today. I would not like it to be termed as a talk by me, but I would love for this to be more interactive. And therefore, the way I've thought about this is I'll tell you a little bit about who I am, what I did, my journey with Swami. And I know it is the leadership series that we are undertaking here. But for me, it's very simple. I will talk you through my professional journey, my journey of what I learned with Swami, and just a summary of what I thought led to success in industry and what I thought worked for me in the last 25 years. I know there is a Q&A session. I am actually and honestly very keen to be having conversations with you. So I promise you, I know it's Sunday evening, that I will walk through what I want to say very quickly, and then I will take a pause and we can open it up for conversation based on the format. But just a little bit of background, and Balaji just walked you through on who I was. My introduction to Swami happened in the year 1988. And it all happened very suddenly. I was all of 11 or 12 years old at that time. My maternal grandmother knew Swami for a very long time, and we moved our residence in Mumbai very close to Dharmakshetra. And one evening when Swami was there, we went for darshan. And from there, the journey started in 1988. And as mentioned earlier, I joined Swami's school in grade 11 in 92 and passed out from my MBA in 99. And there is that journey also, Swami had a great part to play in, because my first job was something that Swami played a pivotal role in placing me. Swami was directly involved in ensuring that I got my first job. And that happened in August of 1999. And I will walk you all through that whole journey, which was very interesting and probably one of the most remarkable incidents that happened in my life and my learnings from that. over the last 25 years, as mentioned, I've been in banking for 24 years. I've spent 6 years in HDFC Bank. I've spent 18 years in Barclays. Uh, I've done various professional assignments. And at this stage, I had the corporate bank in Barclays in India. And that's about me professionally, but more about my journey with Swami. I think, like many of us on this call, and I believe that all of you are from across the country, different age groups. So I'm hoping that what I say and what I share with you is relevant to all of you in your walk of life today. Uh, and what I've just jotted down that I wanted to share with you are parts and certain incidents that I had experienced with Swami, which created a great impact for me. I still value and cherish those moments and the learning from that. And as I grow older, as I get more exposed to managing situations in day to day life, these are very, very simple principles. When we were there with Swami physically, when we heard and had conversations with Swami, at that times, many of them, we really couldn't fathom what it really meant. But today, when you're out here in the world doing your day to day work, these were very, very simple principles. And now you value them more than ever. From a work perspective, and I've just jotted down 9 odd principles that have really, really worked very, very well for me. And I've tried to relate them to what I saw uh, with Swami, living with Swami. But the best part of my life was those 7 years that I lived. And I spent 2 years in Patti, I spent 3 years in Vrindavan, and then went back to do 2 years again in Patti, where I completed my MBA. And the life learnings that I had from there, they were very simple, but they were the most valuable. Today, I have a son who is 18 years old. And today, when I have to mentor him and parent him, I think those are the moments that I spent with Swami, which is most valuable. And that's what I tried today to imbibe in my own son. So I think, part by part, when I just so that you have background, my first job was with L&T. I passed out my MBA in March of 1999. And as I mentioned, Swami had a pivotal role to play. In those days, when you passed out, you waited to seek Bhagwan's guidance and blessings on what your next step should be. Some of us stayed back and worked in Swami's organizations in Patti and Vrindavan, and some of us obviously moved back to our hometowns and found careers in industry. And at that time, I had a little bit of history. My mother had passed just a year ago. My father and I were waiting, and I was waiting there one day, and Swami walked up and had a conversation and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm waiting for your guidance. You tell me." He said, "Why are you here? Your father is alone. You should be going back home." I said, "Okay, I will be blessed if you guide me." And I just kept quiet. That was in the evening, one day at 6 o'clock in Trai Vrindavan. And next day in the morning, darshan and bhajan got over. And suddenly word came through from inside saying, "Swami is looking for you." And I went running inside, and I was then called, and my father was called, and both of us went in, and Swami called us for an interview into the room. And Swami asked my father saying, "What do you want the boy to do? Do you want him to work in Mumbai? Where do you want him to work, etc." And my father was also from industry, but at that moment, at that juncture, he was dumbfounded. He had no answers to what Swami was asking him. Swami said, "Okay, wait. The CEO of L&T is here. Why don't you just do you even have a biodata or a CV, as we call it right now?" And I said, "I don't have anything, Swami. I've been just waiting here in the hostel." So Swami said, "Okay, wait. I will let you know." And in the afternoon that day, all of a sudden, Swami calls me in and says, "Get your biodata ready. The CEO of L&T, Mr. A. Ramakrishna, is right here. I have spoken to him. Why don't you get your biodata, and I will give your biodata to Mr. A. Ramakrishna." And honestly, I was not ready for that at that moment. Vrindavan, 1999, it wasn't that all of us had laptops then, and things were not easily available. The Vrindavan campus was small, facilities were there, but I still remember that evening. at 6:30 in the evening. The computer that was easily available was in the general stores that is still there. We ran in at 6:30, me and one of my classmates. I typed up my biodata, went out running in the Brindavan campus, took a printout, waited for it, and next day morning saw me again, called, and I handed over my CV. And then after that, Swami said, "You go home and you wait." And I waited at my residence in Mumbai for 3 months till July or August. And then I got a call from L&T because Swami had given me an instruction, wait to hear from them. And I was waiting for 3 months. And I waited for 3 months. And come in July, I was called to L&T's office. And at that moment, I just asked very casually, saying, "Sir, you know, this was discussed by Bhagwan in April. We are in July. I just out of inquisitiveness, what happened?" He said, "Listen, you are an MBA. L&T as a group," and that was at the construction wing of L&T. We never even had a policy on how do we even recruit MBAs. We typically recruit chartered accountants. We have engineers. There was never a policy to even hire an MBA. And that's the reason we took a few months, because this is a new process for us and this is the first time we are doing it. And that was where my first job came. It was Bhagwan's gift to me. And that's how I started my career. I still remember I got my appointment letter somewhere in August. I went back to Patti with my appointment letter. Swami called me into the interview room, took my father and I inside, looked at the calendar, selected 23rd August as the auspicious day that I should be starting my job. And that is where I started my professional career. And and I will eternally be grateful for that. Yes, for me, Bhagwan is my God, but purely from a human perspective, what he did for me at that stage in my life was immensely, immensely valuable. I will never forget that. That set the tone for me to do what I had to do at work, in the industry, etc. And that comes to, and why I just really drew that parallel is, for me, gratitude is something that I have learned from Swami. I have heard Bhagwan speaking about it for years and years. And this was one incident that really, really kept me rooted. There was no need for Swami to really be involved. He could have blessed me and told me go out, but he took it upon himself to personally ensure that I was placed at a job. And when I look back today and when I spend time in industry, for me today, one of the key aspects is really, and anybody, is people with gratitude, people who have high levels of loyalty. And this is something that we could always see in Swami's life and message. And as I go through my professional life today, I think people respect people who are respectful to others. It is a very, very simple principle. I know some of you are very young, may have just started your careers now. And I'll tell you this again, as a continuation of the same thing, the very surprising part, and why I speak so much about gratitude and loyalty, is I went in there. And one other lesson that I've always learned is that, and Swami's life is all about it. There is no shortcut to success. You have to be extremely dedicated. You've got to work very hard. That I think Swami imbibed in us as students. We saw Swami himself doing that in every single act that he did, any project that he took up, any guest that came, any function that happened. One thing you would physically observe is Swami was always very involved. People around him, expectations, and the bar was set extremely high on ensuring that we worked extremely hard. We were very clear on what we wanted, and there was no shortcut. Dedication and hard work just came. It was the DNA of the system when you lived and you grew up with Swami. But in terms of gratitude and loyalty, the other thing that, I came back to Bombay. I started this job in my journey, my first job. I learned a lot, but somewhere in me, as a human being, I wasn't enjoying the job. And that was the truth. And that put me in a very, very awkward situation, because this was a gift to me from Swami. He was directly involved. And think about the situation I was. How do I go and have a conversation with Swami saying, I'm not enjoying this? It's not working out for me. And I joined the job on 23rd of August, I still remember. And I went back July next year. And I was seated in the bhajan hall, and Swami came up and asked, how are you doing? Asked me about my job. And I had written to Swami saying that somewhere inside this wasn't working out for me, but it was very, very awkward for me because I did not want, in a physical realm, in a physical plane, to really embarrass Swami himself. But he recognized this, and he had a conversation with me in the bhajan hall next to the chair that you see today inside the bhajan hall in Prashanti Nilayam. And he said, okay, do one thing. When does 1 year get over? I said, the 1 year point is August. He said, let 1 year get over. It does not look good if we leave before 1 year. At that point, go and have a conversation with them and explain your situation to them. I was genuinely very, very surprised because I really, hand on heart, I did not know what to expect when I had that conversation from Swami. But Swami's point, the only thing was in that 5-minute conversation was they have been, and the message to me was they were very, very good to us. They changed policy. Have an honest conversation with them. And at the end of 1 year, go and have a conversation. And exactly that's what I did. At the end of 1 year, I went and met Mr. A. Ramakrishna. I took an appointment. I was the junior most flunk in the whole room. And this was a large conglomerate, L&T sitting there, and a entry-level person even seeking an appointment from the CEO was unheard of. Forget even thinking about it. But I sought it. He called me because he knew my background. He was directly involved. And I went and explained myself. And he said he really understood, supported. And then I moved on and joined HDFC Bank in the year 2000. But my point here is this. At a physical level, what I learned is, yes, when you start your work, there are no shortcuts. That is something that I got a message directly. But more importantly, in difficult situations, in the most difficult of situations, what Bhagwan really, really valued is people who had a sense of gratitude, people who had a sense of loyalty, and people who handled situations extremely sensitively. Even today, when I sit in my professional life, this is where I see many people making a mistake. Like, you change organizations, you get into various situations, and people just tend to mismanage people relationships. And this was my first lesson. And I was very young that time. I was also, to be brutally honest with you, I was very, very scared when I was in this situation. It turned out well. But again, with his guidance, he told me exactly what to do. And this is how it came out to be. The other thing that really, to me, is really mattered is, and even today I see, and Bhagwan always, I think, gave tremendous amount of importance to that, is a person's attitude towards work, right? The energy that we bring something to. And this is something I have seen from the inside in terms of students having the right attitude, Bhagwan having a tremendous amount of attention to people coming with the right positive attitude, correcting people when they went wrong on that. And I have seen this observation from industry. I had a very senior CEO level person coming in, not knowing Bhagwan's mission, Swami, nothing at all. And he was interviewing one of our juniors. And he did not know that I was associated with the university. And when you work in international organizations, very often you tend to go to the Premier B schools, you tend to go to global schools, you hire from there. It's always more of a branding game. We all know how it works. And this gentleman walks up to me back after the interview and says, I met this student, this one colleague. I'm interviewing for another role. One thing I love about this person, I don't know what university this is, but the person's attitude is just amazing. I have never seen a youngster with this kind of attitude, with no demands, ready to give it all. And I smiled because I didn't want to say anything because I knew exactly who the person on the other side was. But my limited point is people notice these subtle things, especially when you walk up in your working life. Uh, these are things, we tend to ignore these things. In the long term, these things matter. Even people who are not part of the Satyasai system, just normal human beings, also value these things. And and these were things that we learned and we picked up when we spent time physically with Swami, but it's been the most valuable lessons we've learned over time. The next one that comes to my mind always is, and I think it's been very, very successful, and I think people really bungle it up in real life, is clarity of thought. And this is again, one thing we learned from Swami is keep things very, very simple. Know what your goal is and break it up into very, very simple parts. And numerous times I've been part of sessions. You've heard Swami, and even if you go to Swami's discourses, etc., read about it. Simplicity and clarity is something Swami always highlighted. But today, if you play an overlay of that in your real life, you will realize that they're invaluable. Most situations today, people tend to use jargons, people tend to make situations very, very complex because there is no clarity of thought. And that is so important, because once you know what you want to do, how you want to do it, you've thought through it, broken it up piece by piece, and then just go ahead and execute it. And you've seen that in all, if people and Gopi would know this for sure, he was there in Parthi in those days, all large projects that Swami undertook. Look at the water project, look at the hospital, etc. These were absolute business school case studies on how you do project execution, how you do large scale projects. Today, when I look back today, after spending 25, 30 years in the industry, when you look back, these are very, very simple things, which were in action. We could have learned, we all learned a lot from there, and you can put all that to work today in our own lives. The other thing, which is a very sensitive thing, which I've learned is over time, and this I used to always, again, lots of time, I've heard that from Bhagwan himself, is just to be very comfortable in your own skin and be yourself. And I know many people struggle. I would like to believe, I know there are 390 people on this call at this stage, is that in our social life, in our work life, very often we do get challenged, we do get conflicted because society operates differently. Not all of them appreciate our value systems. They believe the norm of living life is different. And I think the challenge is staying away from peer pressure. What I've learned is that people eventually respect you for who you are. It is difficult. I don't take it away that it is not difficult. You will have aggressive conversations at time. You may be under peer pressure for social practices at time. Our value systems may guide us to do something very different from what is the norm. But there are, in my view, never succumb under peer pressure. It is the most helpful. And again, you will always also have, and this is something that I've heard in many of the MBA conversations. Swami should spend a lot of time with the MBA batches year after year, either the portico in Parthi, just having general conversations, or if, some of us who are very fortunate to accompany him to get to Kodaikanal, you spend hours with him, you spend the whole day with him. And one conversation that he always kept saying time and again is, when you be yourself and when you have your set of values and principles that you value the most, there will be conflict. Conflict can also be with senior levels, with senior people. And when there's a heated conversation, never react at the same moment, because if you are at the receiving end, it will only get aggravated. And one thing I remember Swami saying is, if there's a heated conversation, there's a difference of opinion, you want to express yourself, do not react at that time. Stay calm, let time pass. Go there after a few hours, go there the next day, express yourself, tell them what you meant, tell them your point of view. You can agree to disagree, even if you're junior and senior, but let the other side know at a calmer moment on where you are coming from. And I'm telling you this from personal experience. It is the most valuable advice I've got in management from Swami himself. And this I've heard multiple number of times. Uh, Students who've been with Swami, been part of these conversations, would have heard Swami say this many times. And it is the most valuable thing. And I think for all of us, being part of the Satsang system, we know what we value most. We know our value system. But yes, at times we will be in situations socially where people think that we are different. So be it. I think that is what is the right thing to do. People eventually understand, people respect us for that. Another skill set that I really learned, and I still think that the master of this art is Bhagwan himself, is people management. And today, where I am in the stage of my life, in terms of the most important thing is really connecting with people, understanding people, irrespective of what their backgrounds are, junior, senior, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. And this is something we learned so well. And even if today, I don't, maybe some of you may not have seen Swami physically, depending on your age, but if you go back and just observe, Swami was so comfortable, would go into a veranda and have a conversation with a 6-year-old child from the primary school at his or her level, have very simple conversations with that child, come across and have a conversation with a bunch of teenagers like us at that time, or management students, have conversations with highly accomplished doctors working in the hospital, visiting industrialists, and then any devotee or even a simple villager who came in with his own asks, right? But from a people's perspective, I think if you just sit back and think about it, the best people manager you could really see. It is very difficult. Try doing it yourself, and you will, we probably took it for granted that Bhagwan himself did this so well. But it is extremely difficult to cut across people through the spectrum of society and be extremely comfortable and connect with them. But to me, success today comes if you have great people, if you connect with everybody and people value you. But for me, that lesson I learned observing Swami. And today, actually, when I think back, these are things today when I sat down and I jotted these down, saying that what should I be saying? What were the lessons that I took away when I spent time? When I jotted these down and I look back and I reflect and just think about these moments, even today, if you go to YouTube and you see Swami's videos, and you will see that he so easily had conversations and managed people, and that people spend hours and people in classrooms and people spend tons of money in management schools just to learn the art of people management. And it's not easy, but I think for us, Swami is the best guide on that one. The other thing I learned, and which I spend a lot of time myself personally, and I have seen this and learned this, and as Balaji mentioned when we opened, is I was very fortunate to be with Bhagwan in Kodaikanal in the year 94 and in the year 96 and observed him very closely. It's just your presentation skills and how we present ourselves. And umpteen number of times over the years that I spent with Bhagwan, I did realize, if you see your physical appearance, on how you dress, on the element of cleanliness, on how you speak, on how you communicate with elders, Bhagwan was extremely, I should say, specific about certain parts of this. And I'll tell you this out of examples. Like, if you just notice, have you ever seen Swami's robe or any part of it which is creased, which is not okay? Because he used to pay attention to detail on these things. In how we spoke, I do remember that whenever we had any dramas that happened in the university, right? The amount of practice we were put through was just not funny. For months and months and months, we would go through practices and training, because Bhagwan was very clear that anybody representing the university should be perfect in their diction, perfect in their delivery, perfect in their presentation. So, right from your physical appearance, right from the way we spoke, the attitude that we displayed when we spoke, and I think Kodaikanal, living with Swami 24 hours a day, observing him close quarters, these were invaluable lessons. And today, when I go back and look at life in normal course, this is what we all ask for. You go and look for anything, you Google up anything today, and people will tell you that these are the skills that you expect from in management, in your daily life, in doing whatever, right? But these were things we learned practically on a day-to-day basis. And I just think that from my perspective, what I learned today and what I'm trying to teach my younger teams, this was something that he taught us every day when he was with us. The other part, and this I think all of us who've been with Bhagwan will agree, is attention to detail. He never missed details. He was like really the bar on looking at things in detail, knowing everything very well was very, very key. And I'll give you 2, 3 examples here. Back in 1998, I was spending my Diwali vacations here in Mumbai, and a call came in from the warden's office saying, Bhagwan has called you back to Parthi. And this, if some of you are students here, will from the university, this is very, very rare that something like that happened, right? The way we used to have 2 vacations. You had summer and you had your Diwali vacation. Students were permitted to stay back if Swami was there. I'd come home that year to be with my parents, and a call coming in saying Swami's called you back to Parthi was like, I said, okay. It happened at 11 in the morning. I still remember it was a Sunday. I was in Dharmakshetra here. My mother called me at that time, and I ran back to go Air India flight. And at 4:30, I was in Parthi. And I had no background on why it happened. And Swami just summoned 6 of us inside. And the reason was that Diwali was just prior to Swami's birthday. And the plans, and on the convocation day on the 22nd of November every year, there is a drama that is put up by the students. And plans and the direction for that had commenced. And I was to be playing a part in that. And I was therefore called to that. And starting that day, for the next 45 days, every single day, Bhagwan either came and saw the practice, or he called us in prior to the bhajans and spent a few minutes with us every day. And there's a reason I'm telling you all this is because we're talking about attention to detail, and that is probably the amount of attention to detail we saw in Swami's attitude towards really looking into what we were doing, how we were doing, how were we delivering our dress, our enactment. That was one part of it, which I already mentioned. But something else also happened. When I went in, I was like, the other 5 individuals were already in Parthi. They had not gone home for Diwali that time, and they were with Bhagwan. And when you go in, the best thing, I think the greatest attraction of being in Swami's university is spending time physically with him. Having conversations, being blessed to be with him physically. That was my greatest attraction to leave Mumbai and go there. That is the honest truth. Whatever I am today, I am because of him. And the singular reason that I went to Parthi was to be physically close to him. And in that mission, and those 10-20 minutes, he would give you food, he would spend time in the last 10 minutes after practice ended, once if he called you into the room. And one of those days, what happened was, Swami just posed for a few pictures in the room. And everybody, the other 4 of them had a camera, and they all clicked photos. We took photos with Swami. And I just realized, I just observed, I didn't know what the background was, that for all the 4 or 5 of them who were there with me, all of them seemed to have similar cameras. It was just an observation. I did not even have and I was the only person not having a camera at that moment, but it did not matter because we were enjoying the moment at that time. and they all took pictures. We all got prints of it, etc. This happened in the evening on a particular weekday, and next day again in the evening at 5:30 or 5:45. And the interview room in Patti, for those of you who've not seen it, in the mandir is the room to the right next to the bhajan hall. It's an extremely small room. It's probably 100 to 120 square feet, where Bhagwan sat in the corner and all of us were on the ground, and it was connected to another room from inside where there's a small curtain. So we were called in and we were sitting there. So I was in another room, expected to come through the passage. And I was sitting there right at the edge of the door, waiting for Swami to come in. The curtain just opened. And when the curtain opened, Swami looked down upon me. And to the right, there was a small little table. And a camera was kept there. And when he came in, he picked that camera, came in, didn't say anything, and just threw it at me. And I smiled. And I didn't, and I'll be honest today that at that moment, it never struck me that why did the other 5 people have a camera? And he sat, he smiled back, and he said to those other 4 or 5 boys, I had given those cameras. This is for you. Now, I still have that camera. I value it the most. But to me, that moment was really Bhagwan's real attention to detail. There was nothing at all. It was not even a thought in my mind. In all his busy schedule, in the thousands and lakhs of people who were there, in his schedule through the next 24 hours, if he had the time to think about it, ask for one, keep it there ready before the next day that we could call, it is a memory that is etched for me through my life, that he had that kind of attention to detail to come and give that to me. These are all very, very invaluable memories for me. Similarly, I don't know how many of you are aware, but somewhere in 98, there was an international cricket match that was held, organized by Sunil Gavaskar. Sachin Tendulkar was there, and that was the first time, because the Hillview Stadium was converted to a international standard pitch, a full-fledged ground, and 6 of us were chosen, saying that there will be an opening ceremony, and you need to walk in with a flag. So you'll need to march in with a flag. 6 of you will bear that, and there will be a flag hoisting ceremony. So please come and start training for that. We said, okay, we'll do that. The amount that little march with that flag was probably all of 30 meters in an opening ceremony. That entire event lasted for 2 minutes. But the amount of attention Bhagwan gave that opening ceremony was unbelievable. He came in for practices himself. He made us march single file, individuals singly, 6 of us together, do a rehearsal time and again. He then chose what we should be wearing. He then ensured that there were specific silk ties that were got for all of us. He got into every single detail, right from how that event occurred physically, in terms of how we took that flag, how we hoisted it, to how we looked, to how long we took. There was no necessity for Bhagwan to do that. But for him, it was an event that he wanted. It was representative of the university. There were outsiders coming. For him, it was very, very important. But when I today take those incidents and really reflect back on that and extend that to our own normal lives today, small things that we do, which we typically tend to say, these things are fine, chalta hai, let it be, we'll try and wing it on the side. It doesn't work like that. If you want to be successful every time, if you really value your name, if you value your reputation, you have to put the effort. You need to have those attention to detail. And that is something it is so easy to learn from Bhagwan's life itself. So, and the next one, which I really thought, and I think all of us would have either heard of it, or would people who've dealt with Bhagwan personally, physically, would also know. is that Bhagwan was very, very frugal, extremely frugal, and not for the lack of resources. If today physically Swami is not with us, but just look at what's been created as an institution, as a message. Look at the hospital, look at the water project, look at the organization itself, right? Just keeping all of us motivated to do what we are doing. It was never for the lack of resources, but Bhagwan valued what we did and how we did and how much we spent, how much resources we put, how much time we spent on a particular thing immensely. Ask anyone who worked with Bhagwan in a project and they'll tell you. He was very, very, very frugal on where money was spent, how resources were spent, how people spend their time, respecting other people's time. And I think, again, life lesson, all of us learn it in a jargoned way today, but that was 101 that we could see, we learned. And I'll tell you a very simplistic thing. All students will agree with me that our lives in our hostel were extremely frugal. It was not because the Satsang Institute of Higher Learning did not have the resources. There was a life lesson there that Bhagwan very, very softly taught us. Today, it is probably the most valuable lesson that I have learned coming in. Look at our hostel. When I went in from a pampered Bombay kid into a Puttaparthi hostel in June of 92, 45 degrees, no fans, 8 to 10 children live in the same room. All you get is one cupboard. And when my parents first saw it, my mother laughed. She said, "Will you be able to manage?" I said, "Leave it. I will handle it." Right? I was all of 15 or 16 then. But the training we got in that phase of life, and today when I come out, you could put any of us anywhere in the world. I think nobody will ever grumble about lack of resources, etc. Because you've got a foundation of living with very, very little. I still remember there were days where even to bathe, water was a challenge because at that time, Parthi was very, very different. You walked down 3 floors, took your water, came up and you bathed, and then you went to college in time. There were no excuses. That was life. You all learned it and you learned to live. And these are all things which are very, very basic. But today, when I go back and I look at my life, saying that if, today I'm in large conferences, I travel globally, and people make a fuss about their hotel room being 50 square feet smaller than the other person, I laugh. It doesn't matter. Because the value systems that were imbibed in us was very, very different. These were basics. At that time, sometimes we thought, why are we struggling so much? We didn't even have a fan. We used to have small little table fans at that time. But these were things at that time we probably didn't know what is happening. But today, when I look back 20, 25 years, it has made us so ready, and it has made it so easy for us to navigate our daily lives that people at times on the other side get surprised saying, how come these things don't matter? But these were things that we learned from Swami. Very simple things of life. Just being yourself, being on time, being disciplined, being hardworking. These are things all of us, probably read about or learn in our moral science classes. But when you see it in action, if you've lived that over years and years, these are they get ingrained. But that is what, really matters in your daily life today. And for me, these were things that I learned when I lived with him. Very, very simple things, but I think they're invaluable to me. And for all of them, and I can go on and on my own personal experiences with Bhagwan around this. But for me, from a leadership perspective, applying Bhagwan's principles on a daily basis, these were things that I saw, I learned at that time. And I'll be honest, many of those things I did not really appreciate. Over years, with time, I have come to appreciate more of that. And more importantly, when you really see other people who do not know Swami, who are senior, who are accomplished, calling these things out, saying, we see some of the Satyasai students who are very resilient, who are different. They stand out because of their attitude. They stand out because they're ready to work hard. They come with a different level of energy. They come with a level of humility. I'm not saying all of us are like that, but these are observations. When third parties make it, then you just go back and reflect, saying that this is not because of us. This is because of how we were trained and what we learned in our life. So this was a little bit I wanted to share with all of you. I know I have spoken for close to 45 minutes. I will want to really take a pause here. I'm happy to take any questions and open it up accordingly. Immensely grateful to all of you for spending time today. But if there are any questions or anything that any of you would like to discuss, I'm happy to try and address them to the best of my ability. Sairam.
Sairam, sir. Sairam to one and all. On behalf of the Sri Satya Sai National Leadership Program team, I, Shraddha Nair, would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, sir, for sharing your journey with us, making us feel like we were witnesses to your sojourn to and with Sai. Indeed, this evening has been a gift to us all from Swami, making us feel his presence with every experience and lesson that you have shared with us today. We will now open the floor for the question answer session with your permission, sir.
Sure.
I request the participants to raise their hand and we'll take the questions one by one. Brother from Maharashtra West, NLP 24M01, you may unmute and ask your question.
Sairam sir, I hope you can hear me properly.
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Sairam sir, first of all, thank you very much for the wonderful experiences, and it was great, really great to listen to you, and it was really great to learn that Swami actually, focused at this much detail level. So that's a great thing. One thing I would like to know about is mainly from the people management thing, because you mentioned about the people management and the way Swami deal with it. Because when during our professional life in my office, if I have to specifically give example, when we somehow have a feeling that people management is somehow not a very big deal, because it's like if you feel behave good with people, you understand people, you listen to them, I think most of your job is done as a manager, and the rest I think you have to focus more on the technical work and those kind of things. So leaving that aside, was there any specific thing that you would like to address about people management thing, if that is that Swami has taught you probably, and that works in most of the cases?
So I think two things, and I mentioned this earlier, right? One is respecting people. What you're saying is perfectly right. One part of people management is just to listen to them and have conversations with them, and then they have to be technically good. The reality is this: you are as good as your team. I may have whatever designation today. I cannot truthfully say that I know everything and I'm technically not strong. The smartest way for my own success is that I surround myself with very, very smart people. But why will those smart people work for me? One is all of us work for money. Yes, that is true, important. But what I learned from Swami and what we've heard him say is respecting people, irrespective of age, irrespective of background, rich, poor, color, does not matter. Very simple, easily said, oversaid, but not followed 100%. People who do it often, you will see them and you will see that they are more successful than the others. But it's very, very simple. You just respect the other individual. You will have differences. They may not know something. They may be deficient on certain things. But I think just respecting the person as a human being first is something that I have really learned and I have carried forward from Baba.
I think that is purely, we always say that this is something is very true, and I totally buy it. I totally understand this. Thank you, sir. I will definitely. I am on the path of implementing this definitely, but I will also remember this strongly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sairam Ratna, thank you so much. Thank you, sir. We will also be taking questions on the chat and also requesting the participants to keep your questions short so that we can take more questions. Reading from the chat, sir, from a question from Brother Sukrut. What are the regular sadhana practices that you do considering your hectic schedule?
So I'll be very honest with you. As a background, My father is very, very involved as a family. My father spends 8 hours a day, 7 days a week in Dharmakshetra. Both of us are part of the trust. For me, what is the most satisfying is to do Swami's work. So I try and find time, try and find ways and means to ensure that I get involved in Seva. I was not always like that. I will also be honest and truthful that in my younger days, I was distracted. I did not find the time to do it. But now I make it a point that at least Saturdays and Sundays, a few hours every Saturday and every Sunday, I spend in Bhagwan's work. I find that the most satisfying. So that is what works for me. So that is what I do as my sadhana.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Sister Rashika from Tamil Nadu North. You may please unmute.
Sairam, sir. Hello, sir. It's my pleasure to have a conversation with you. So my question for you is like, being a designated in a great position, how you to face the criticism on you? And you mentioned saying that you were scared at one moment. How do you face the fear of rejection, or how could you come across the scares? I mean, your fear.
Okay, let me tell you this, and I can tell you this now out of experience after working and at being a senior level. The senior most person and the most successful person is also scared. There is nobody in professional life who's not scared. So if anybody is telling you they're not scared of situations or they are not worried, they're lying. It is not possible. Okay. And it is good to be a little scared. It will ensure that you're checked. It will ensure that you work hard and you run faster. So being scared is not a problem. And if you've not done anything wrong, it doesn't matter. Yes, you are nervous at times on how you're received, etc. I think as long as, and I mentioned this again, as long as you're very, very clear in your thought process, you need to have clarity of thought. You need to be clear what you stand for. Then you will have concerns around, how it is received, that you should present it properly, etc. But being scared is fine. It is good to be scared. It will keep you on the right path. It will ensure you work harder. It will ensure you run faster. So don't worry about being scared at all.
Thank you, sir. The next question from Sister from Chhattisgarh. I have recently joined a new company where a new team is being formed for a UK-based project. Requesting participants to please mute. I repeat, sir. I have recently joined a new company where a new team is being formed for a UK-based project. I am also a part of the same team. My question is my manager frequently expects to extend my working hours? How should I face this situation?
Okay. What is wrong with working long is my question to you. I know you may not like the answer, but you know what? Early years, you will have to put in long hours. There is no, and I know all of us have personal situations. We have family. As long as the person on the other side is not being unreasonable, try and have a conversation. But I don't think there's a quick fix to working hard and working long. You will get to a stage in life where you'll be able to manage that better. But yes, if you genuinely have a personal issue in putting it, I think most human beings are sensible. Have a conversation in a calmer setup in terms of if somebody is being unreasonable. But otherwise, my brutal, honest answer to you is don't shy away from putting in long hours. There is no shortcuts to it.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Sister Pragatishwari from Tamil Nadu South. You may unmute yourself. Please keep your questions short.
Thank you. Sairam, sir, it's a very wonderful session. And I do have a little question because I was a freshly graduate and it's been 2 weeks. I was searching jobs and I was not getting anything other than rejection mails. Unfortunately, you're not selected, unfortunately. So, since you have an assurance from Swami that you will get a job, since I don't have any physical assurance from Swami, I was waiting and I don't know when to anticipate things. Or at least, I do know Swami's denial is not denial, but the patience was killing me, and sitting in home for 2 weeks simply and doing something was very hard for me. So, do you have any tips and tricks to
Listen,
to be?
okay. Only thing I can tell you is 2 weeks is very short. Don't get so anxious. It's fine. Like, get used to listening to no. I had a different problem, and let me tell you all this. Swami sent me home in mid of May. in 1999, and I didn't hear anything between May and end of July. Those few months were the craziest months in my entire life. I didn't know what to do. I was sent home by Bhagwan saying, go and wait. He sent my biodata or my CV to a CEO of a company from whom I had not heard. And May to August, I was just sitting there and waiting. So, yes, I was very blessed. I was very fortunate that Bhagwan played a part in it. But I had my moments too. Okay. And that was probably the most awkward moment where he set it up for you. He sent the CV, and then you sent home to wait, and you're waiting. There's no line of communication in 1998 from Bombay to Bhagwan directly. Bhagwan does not talk to you on the phone. You're just waiting and you're praying. So these things happen. 15 days is nothing. Please be patient. Put your head down and keep applying. It'll come through.
Silence, sir.
Thank you, sir, for that question. Next, we will have the question from Brother Bhavishya Kumar from Bihar. You may please unmute.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam.
Sir, may I speak in Hindi?
हाँ जी जरूर.
ब्रदर, ऐसा लगता है जब हम काम कर रहे हो तो कभी कभी ऐसा होता है, स्वामी कहते हैं या एक आवाज जैसा आता है, नहीं नहीं इस काम को ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करो, यहाँ तुम फंस सकते हो, फिर उसको दूसरे तरीके से करने से वो काम हो जाता है. तो ये क्या, ये जो वॉइस हमेशा आदमी को सुनने को मिलता है या मुझे ही मिलता है, तो ये क्या इंटरनल वॉइस है, ये स्वामी का ही होता है या हमारा अंतर इंटरनल सोल बोलता है?
देखिए वो तो मुझे,
क्योंकि ये बात मानने से वो काम हो जाता
चलिए
है,
बढ़िया है.
अगर उस रास्ते को छोड़ देने से.
देखिए मुझे ये नहीं पता कि वो वॉइस किसका है, लेकिन मैं एक चीज बता सकता हूँ आपको. अगर आपको लगता है कि वो वॉइस सुन के वो ठीक हो रहा है तो आपको वही फॉलो करना चाहिए. एक चीज है जिंदगी में कि सही या गलत हम सबको पता होता है. अगर आप कुछ भी काम करने लोगे आपको पता है कि आप कुछ गलत कर रहे हो तो आपको पता ही होता है वो. हम सबको, अगर हम जिंदगी में कभी भी कुछ गलत कर रहे हैं हमें पता होता है कि हम कुछ गलत कर रहे हैं. अगर आपको हर बार ऐसे गाइडेंस लगता है कि मन से पता चल रहा है कि आपको यही करना चाहिए और काम ऐसे करना चाहिए और ऐसे नहीं करना चाहिए, और आपके एक्सपीरियंस से अगर ये लग रहा है आपको कि आपने जब भी सुनी है ये बात थिंक और काम हो गया है, तो आपको तो फिर सिर्फ वही करना चाहिए.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that question, brother. Next, we will have Brother Prasad Kalas from Karnataka North. Please unmute.
Sairam, sir. It's a wonderful session so far, and we were truly feel blessed by our session. And sir, I would like to ask you one question regarding, sir, you have just mentioned a line of never succumb for peer pressure. So I'd like to ask you, as of now, it's nothing, but in further situations, how to deal with this peer pressure, if at all it's not further generation or further peers.
Listen, when I say peer pressure, I'm being very nice about it, and you will realize, right? When you go into an office or when you go to work, there will be, let's be honest, all of us work, we are in industry. You will be called into a social function, you will be called into a party, you will be, people consume alcohol, you may be different. That's fine. Do not do things because you want to be part of the herd. It is fine to stand out. It is not easy because people will call you out. There will be times you may feel awkward. Over time, it is fine. People will respect you for who you are. They will respect you for what you bring. You have to stand and hold firm on your beliefs. It's not easy initially. Over time, people will start respecting you for who you are. And I'm telling you this out of full experience. I've been around for 25 years in the industry. I know it's not easy. People will make fun. People will pass comments. But over time, you will be respected for what you bring.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that question, brother. Next question. Sairam, sir, do you ever experience anger, especially when your aim or work doesn't happen as per your plan or wish? And if yes, how do you deal with these situations?
Anger, I'll be honest, yes. The job I do is very pressurizing. I can't say that I don't get angry. I think one thing I've learned and more out of experience is to not react at the spur of the moment. Okay. It's not that I was always like that. I think with age and with experience, I've got there. One thing I can only tell y'all is if you're really angry, don't make a decision, don't react, try and avoid it, walk away from the situation, think about it calmly, and then get back to the same situation. Typically, if you take a decision in a heated moment, 9 or 10 times you get it wrong. So just avoid it.
Thank you, sir. The next question. Sairam, sir, have you ever been scolded by Swami for any mistake during your academic years? And the life lesson you learned from it.
Okay.
That's still important today. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
So I think, Swami was very, very demanding. And at a very physical level, you don't want to be at the receiving end when Swami was angry. You do not want to be there. He could really, really be angry. And I don't know what it was, but we are humans. He was God for us. So very, very clearly for us, that is not a time you want to be on the receiving end. What did I learn? Let me be very clear. And I said this earlier too, right? It was always about very, very basic things. Not getting something right, of getting something wrong, not having attention to detail, our behavior not being in line. So if there was displeasure expressed by Swami, it was always for things that we got wrong, knowingly that his expectation of us was different. So for me, from a life lesson perspective, again, and I just mentioned this to the brother earlier, all of us always know when we are doing something wrong. We tend to do it because it is the shortcut to get to a certain point, right? When you get called out, you have to be humble enough to accept and correct yourself. But short answer to your question is, was I at the receiving end? Yes, I was at the receiving end quite often. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that with us, sir. The next question is, which is one memory of yours with Swami which you will always cherish?
Oh, wow. Okay. I think there are lots of them, but I think one of them which I shared with you was the whole incident of Bhagwan being directly involved in my job, which was a lot. I think the second one was when me and my father were called in, and Bhagwan told my father that I was going to be awarded the all-rounder gold medal a few months from then in November, because at that time, as a family, we were in a delicate situation because my mother had just passed. So these were moments that I'll always cherish.
Indeed, heart-touching, sir. Thank you so much. One more question. Sairam, I have recently joined a new company where a new team is being formed for a UK-based project. Okay, this is a question already answered. We move ahead to the next one. Sairam, I did my graduation in computer science, but due to some family situations, I joined at a mechanical company and they valued my potential also. But I don't understand whether to carry on in this company or change my profession according to my study.
It doesn't matter what you study. If you're enjoying what you're doing, do it. I think 8 out of 10 people today, what they're doing in industry is disconnected to the education they take. Look at banking itself, right? I have computer science engineers, I have aeronautical engineers, and I have IIM graduates who did physics Olympiads, but who are right now doing structuring and doing derivative pricing, etc., which has nothing to do with their engineering background. So honestly, academics is a stepping stone for you to get into industry. Don't get very hung up that because you did comp science, you're getting something into mechanical. If you're enjoying it, if you're feeling valued, please pursue it. It does not matter. You can learn on the job.
Thank you, sir. The next question, Sairam, sir, how do you deal with the inferiority complex arising out of comparison at workplace?
That is your choice. You feel inferior. That is a choice you've made. You should not feel inferior. There's no part to that, right? If you think you don't have a certain skill set, go out, work hard, put your head down and get that skill set. There's nothing known as inferiority complex, right? So there are no shortcuts to success on that. And feeling inferior is your choice. If you want to punish yourself, nobody can help you.
Thank you, sir. The next question, Sairam sir, how do you see hard work and smart work? Since nowadays people choose smart work rather than hard work to faster success.
I agree. When I say hard work, it's not just like sitting there and spending rotary hours and hours of work. And let me be also very clear. Smart work is not a shortcut to hard work. People work smart, but they also work very, very long hours. They work smart. So what you would say that I spend 14 hours a day in my office and I spend 6 days a week. That doesn't mean that the person who works smart only works for 4 hours. I can share tons of examples of people working very, very smartly, but still working very hard and very long. And they are very, very successful. So I don't think there's an either or option there. You got to work smart and you got to work hard. It's not an alternate out. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your words. On behalf of the whole Satya Sai National Leadership Program team, once again, sir, I take this opportunity to thank you for the heart-touching stories that you shared with us today. From your strength of character to go up to Bhagwan and tell him about your struggle, to Swami's ways of instilling the principle of discrimination early on in your life, from the dedication that you learned living in the proximity of the Lord, to the virtues of gratitude and loyalty that Swami very graciously bestowed in you. Your journey is inspiring, sir. As youngsters just getting into the world, our struggles are plenty, both within and outside of us. And your sharing has reinstilled in us the faith that standing by our principles, even when it is hard, is only going to garner us respect in the eyes of the society. Thank you, sir, for giving us the privilege to be privy to the multitude of lessons that Swami shared with you personally. The love that Swami showered on you indeed reached us all today. On behalf of all the participants and the Sri Satya Sai National Leadership Program team, I would like to once again extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, sir. It is also my privilege to thank the SatVam team for organizing this satsang for us all. Thank you also to the translation team for giving us such prompt and accurate translations live. Thank you to the team, to the IT team for conducting this session so seamlessly. And a big thank you to our participants who so enthusiastically participated in the satsang, making sure that it was truly a learning opportunity for us all. Thank you, sir, once again, offering it all to the enabler, the doer, the receiver, and the eternal witness, our Mother Sai. Jai Sairam.
Sairam, thank you very much.
Samastha Lokah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastha Lokah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastha Lokah Sukhino Bhavantu. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba Ji ki Jai.